You haven't stopped gardening yet, have you? There's still a lot to do. I'm behind in my work. I've got these beautiful trees and shrubs that I found, of course, on sale. An American hawthorn, I know where it's going to go. An oak fell down, and I want to put a cool tree like this in to make the forest more diverse. I've got a bucket list tree, Korean Stewardia. I know right where it's going. I've always dreamed of having a Stewardia in the garden. And then this witch hazel, which is a winter bloomer. I'm not sure where it's going to go. Fall's not my favorite time of the year. It's beautiful, yes, the colors. It's time to plant trees, shrubs. I still have garlic to put in, but that driveway you see behind me, it goes all the way down there, then a switchback to the bottom. That is my garden during the winter, if we have a real winter. I was out this morning and picking the last of the peppers, and you can see from the foliage, we haven't got a hard frost here yet, and it's November. That's almost unprecedented. We've got a lot to do in the garden today. We're going to be saving many of the plants that are remaining in the garden. So all the plants we're talking about today will not last over the winter out here. They're tender, and the first one is this Colocasia called Maui Gold. I bought these at the end of the season last year for $1 a piece. Grew them indoors as a house plant, and this year, I mean, before it got cold, these were just stunning centerpieces for this container. And for this type of plant, what I'm going to do is the same thing I did last year. I'm going to kind of trim it back, and then I'm going to pull out the bulb that's underneath here, and I'm going to get it inside. Luckily, the boss just left, and because I'm under orders not to bring any more plants inside. But if I do it slowly and surely and kind of stick this bulb down, nobody will know. So don't tell her. Oh boy, that thing has tripled in size. Well, that's our first plant. I'm going to sneak it inside. I've got 3 or 4 more of them growing out here. And you can see the new growth here. Once you get this into a pot, put it on the windowsill, it's going to go to town. It's going to limp along all winter, and then I'm going to bring it back out here next spring. Boy, that's a big one. One of my favorite pollinator plants, the Mexican sunflower, still blooming. Hope it goes for a couple more weeks. The other plants we're going to save also have bulbs or tubers underneath, but those aren't going to be grown inside as houseplants. We're just going to store those tubers. This is a canna called South Pacific Orange. I grew it from seed. I wasn't sure if it would even make a tuber, but there is something down here. We're going to show how to save that. I've got some dahlias to pull out of here, also some tuberous begonias and some caladiums. There's some of these that are still blooming. I'm not going to pull them out yet that look great. Usually for dahlias, I wait till the frost blackens the greens, and then I let those tubers down below sit there for about 2 weeks because they form eyes. If it doesn't have an eye, it won't make a flower. But today's the day we're pulling this stuff out, so I'm just going to cut them back, pull the tubers out, and then I'll show you how I store mine. And it's funny, everybody stores theirs a little bit different. Once you start to work down here, you'll start to see the tubers right there. And those will need separated before I store them, although some people store them this way. Well, one thing I noticed was a garlic plant has sprouted. Don't worry about that. It happens when we have a warm start to the season, and the plant will be fine. So here we have what's left of our tuberous begonias. I love this. This is called Griffin, and every year I save the tubers and plant them again. Caladiums, our dahlias, and our cannas. We're just going to kind of trim them up, and what we've got here is just a Rubbermaid container filled with something called vermiculite. Again, people use all sorts of different stuff as storage. They'll use peat moss, perlite, whatever it might be. I've had good luck doing it this way. And I've just got about 1 inch on the bottom. I'm going to trim up some of these roots. I'm going to put them in here so they're not touching each other. Put another layer on and keep going until we fill it up. And that canna right there looks pretty good. Maybe a little trim on that green. We're not using any water on these. We're just putting them as is. Some people will dry them out for a day or 2. I have really dry vermiculite here, and I think it's going to be fine. These are the caladiums. All right, then we'll just put a layer of vermiculite on top. And we'll start again until we get filled up. I'm going to actually separate these dahlias I don't know what has an eye on here. I can't really see it making much of an eye, so we're going to save everything we've got here. And once we pot them up, the thing is about dahlias, once they hit the soil and water, off they go. There we go. All right. I like to trim them up pretty tight. They'll dry out in there. All right, we put the top down, and I'm going to store this down in the basement. I got a little spot down there, a little like separate room, kind of a root cellar, that stays at about 60 all winter. If I could find a place that was 50, it would even be better. But as long as it doesn't get below freezing, you'll be okay. If you only have a place at 70 degrees, that's okay too, as long as they don't freeze out. Check them once a month, make sure they're not sprouting or rotting or drying out. You'll get a good feel for it. If you just kind of reach down in there and kind of hold the tuber or the bulb, you'll know where it's at. And I love it that we are saving money. You know me, Mr. Cheapskate. We're saving these plants. All right, let's finish up. Well, it is kind of sad to see the end of the season, but there's still a lot of work to be done. You could still be planting bulbs. I have 200 bulbs coming today and tomorrow. I'm going to plant in the vegetable garden, those trees and shrubs. And I'm even going to be moving some perennials around. Now, check me out online. There's lots of other good gardening information there. And if you didn't see it yet, there's a fun video where I'm distributing garlic to all my friends. Until next week, I got to get those trees in the ground, the bulbs in the ground. It never ends. We'll see you then.